The name was actually really complicated. It was a few months of kind of going back and forth with a few friends who were really great supports for this entire endeavor, only because one, we wanted to somehow still keep some Tamil roots within it, right? We didn't want to give it a purely English name. We still wanted it to be identifiable or traced back to my Tamil heritage. And then the other half of it was choosing a name that wasn't hard to pronounce because it's still mainstream and we are predominantly targeting the diaspora. So we wanted something that would kind of roll off the tongue, but would still be identifiable. So Thaen Pot, which I think is was pretty cliche, I guess, right? Because Thaen in Tamil means honey, and then pot. So it's almost like a sexual innuendo, a little bit, like if I'm being honest. And the name just stuck. We threw it out one day in a group, a WhatsApp group, and I was like, I like the sound of it. So Thaen Pot was what we decided to call the shop. And then Thaen X, I decided would be the publication or the platform name, just because X is also associated with sexually explicit stuff, although we kind of use that as a sarcastic, this is Thaen X. So that's how the name came about. And then in terms of like how the idea came up, on my podcast, my previous podcast, we did an episode on sex. And for me, it was casual conversation. I think I'm grateful that I have a group of friends that are quite open when it comes to this stuff. So we did a podcast on it. And then I realized that this is not the norm, right? Like a lot of people don't have the same experiences in terms of having the same support system, even within their friends, of being able to talk about these things. And it wasn't just older people, it was also like young people, teenagers, also women who are married, who were really engaged. And so I thought that there was a need for a platform. So the platform was the initial idea. It was a space for people to be able to share their stories, experiences, but also almost like an educational tool, which I think was missing, especially catered towards like the South Asian Tamil experience. So the platform was the initial goal. And then I also realized that sex toys were also very like unconventional for a lot of people, even amongst my friends who have never been into a toy store, or they've never purchased one for themselves. And I remember the first toy I even bought my friend was for her like 19th birthday. And it was just so normal to me. But again, it was that realizing other people don't have the same experiences and maybe a little bit more shy or conservative in their approach to these things. So then the shop came around as a space for people to be able to peruse, explore without being overwhelmed. So a lot of the online stores or even in-person stores today, there's just a lot to consume, right? Like you don't really know where you're looking, what you're looking for. And it's also hypersexualized in a way that makes you feel a little bit uncomfortable. Like you would not open that website in front of your friends or your parents, right? So we wanted to create a space that was sensual, still prioritized brown bodies, but like was a safer space to be on. And if you were caught open with a tab, no one's going to look at it and be like, you're watching porn. So it was kind of removing the hypersexualization of how people perceived this industry, as well as creating a platform for people to share their stories, experiences, and learn from it.